this is my review of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Okay, so this is the 5th and final OVA before Season 2 picks up again, which is going to be picking up next week, alongside a bunch of other anime that I'm going to be either reviewing and or talking about, because I'll get to that tomorrow, but I'll explain when I get to it. But in any case, this episode picks up immediately after Rimuru's Glamorous Life as a Teacher Part 2, and it basically just picks up exactly where the last OVA left off. So it leaves off with Class S facing off against a spectre, which is disguised in itself as Girl Tells Butler. So first things first, the bandits immediately realizing what is going on, free themselves and then escape out through the exit of the mine, and they just hightail it out of there. They are never seen again. We never see hide no tail of them, but they just realize that they kind of bit off more than they can chew and head right in GTFO basically. At which point the students proclaim that they're going to defend Triss, and sure enough, Kenya is the first one to attack. He starts using his sword. He swings his sword, which he enhances with his spirit powers. But the spectre merely bounces off him and defends itself rather effortlessly. And sure enough, several of the other students try to do so as well. Gale steps in with his shield and takes a brunt of the attack for Kenya, but gets knocked back a little bit. And several of the other students try to defend themselves. Alice uses her abilities as well to try and attack him with throwing knives, but eventually after toying with the kids enough, the Spectre eventually stops fooling around, and he defeats all but 2 of the students, eventually the demon stops toying around and he defeats all the students in one fell swoop. But Chloe, as she's going down, remarks that she will fight to her last, saying that the Rimuru will eventually come for them and help defend them, before getting her ass handed to her too and being knocked out. At which point Triss is pretty much the only one still standing, and he offers her a deal. He gives her the enslavement collar that the bandits were planning on using on the teacher anyway, and states that and asks her to make a choice. She has to pick one of them to actually save by making them into a slave forever, which isn't really saving them, but whatever. But also adds a caveat that she has to kill anybody she chooses not to save. But regardless of her choice, she will be spared as well. And sure enough, this is a bit of a catch-22 situation. Regardless of what she actually decides to choose, she's screwed. The Spectre is fully intent on the fact that she's most likely going to pick herself and save herself, which is what he's counting on, and knows full well that torment is what he's going to be able to feed off of, because he knows what kind of desires humans have, or at least if he thinks he does, and is full on prepared to feast off of Triss's agony. Triss, however, decides instead to pick up Kenya's sword and declares that she is a teacher just like Shizu before her, and she is going to defend them in her stead, since she walked out on them once before and she's not going to make that same mistake a second time. At which point the two proceed the battle, and she summons. At which point time kind of stops, and a demon, later revealed to be Diablo, if you guys may or may not remember, he kind of appeared at the end of the first season and in one of the OVAs since then. But he shows up in this episode. He shows up in this OVA, and he offers Triss a deal. He'll deal with the Spectre, but she has to enter a contract with him. And while she's initially hesitant, he does point out that he's mainly doing this to fulfill his duty to Shizu, and after realizing that they share a common goal and that they want to honor Shizu's memory, she eventually accepts. At which point time proceeds to resume, and Diablo reveals himself. And the Spectre is immediately very cocky, thinking he can easily defeat Diablo. But then Diablo immediately appears behind him, separates the Specter from the butler, and then proceeds to rip the Specter limb from limb, killing it. And understandably, Triss is a little bit shocked by this whole thing. All she knows is that she has no idea what she summoned. He immediately shows up and then just kicks ass, and then after which he decides to accept his payment, which oddly enough isn't really payment. Instead he makes another deal with her. He wants to live in complete anonymity, and his role in this event has to be completely and utterly. She's not allowed to talk about what really happened. And the second she does, he'll claim her soul. So she does exactly that, but is a little surprised as to why he wants that. And he points out that all he really cares about is fulfilling his promise to Shizu. And with that, he gives her an alibi that she can use if anybody asks what happened, pointing out that the light spirit, the residing inside of Kenya, had defeated the Spectre while he was unconscious, and at which point the spirit emerges from Kenya's body and greets Diablo like an old friend, basically. And with that, Diablo takes his leave and teleports out of there, and Triss is kind of just confused as to what happened with that whole situation, and the light spirit merely remarks that she knows she knows of him rather than actually knows him, but decides that it's not important for right now and that they need to get the kids to safety. And afterwards, they do exactly that and catch the rest of the group up to speed. Rimuru and Jeff show up a day later. They're completely confused as to what actually went down in the mines, but the kids and Triss kind of help them fill in the blanks. But then eventually it comes to the matter at hand that Guaranto's wife is still sick. And Jeff reveals that he's actually her brother, and which explains why he's so concerned, and also explains that he's concerned for her safety and hopes that there's something well. And they're not entirely sure what to do, but then Chloe offhand remarks that Rimuru is able to create full potions, which Guaranto and Jeff immediately jump at the chance for. Jeff basically tries to weasel his way out of the fact that Rimuru kind of sort of may be lost, but points out that he'll basically throw the competition for him if he helps. And they then proceed to have a bit of a back and forth argument, pointing out how bad of a deal that is. But eventually Guaranto ends the argument personally and asks them Rimuru if he can help. And points out that while he could do that, there is a bit of an inherent problem in that if a full potion isn't used correctly, it could kill the person instead of heal them, which is problematic. So Rimuru decides to leave the room and ask Great Sage if he can actually if there's actually a workaround for that. And as it turns out, there is, and Great Sage reveals that if he applies the potion directly to the infected area, that not only would it heal not only would it bypass the whole problem, but it would also enable him to basically heal her illness as well. So he eventually concludes to that and returns to the room and states that he will give them the potions, but they have to let him do the operation himself, which they reluctantly accept. At which point he analyzes Guaranto's wife and proceeds to have Great Sage do the operation since Rimuru has clumsy hands. But in any case, Jeff is pretty nervous because that's his sister in there, and there's a very good chance she may not wake up if Rimuru isn't careful. But Chloe merely reassures him, telling him that he should have faith in Rimuru, and he accepts. And as it turns out, the operation is a complete success. The full potion is applied directly to where it's supposed to be, which winds up enabling Guaranto to have a walk with his wife. And Rimuru and the rest are happy that she's finally able to basically heal, and all this well that ends well and all that crap. But as he's lamenting on the fact that they finally saved her and finally did what they were supposed to do, Great Sage actually chimes in, revealing that he didn't need to go through with the operation at all, because apparently giving her some honey would have had the same effect for whatever reason. It's explained, but it doesn't. And apparently there's like a thing in the honey in the world where Rimuru reincarnated into that enables it to cure illness, and Rimuru was just kind of upset that Great Sage didn't tell him this earlier, but he decides not to lament on that. And also, thanks to what he discovered, surgery Guaranto now is able to basically improve medical professionals, medical stuff in the world. And Rimuru is basically just basically like, yeah, this is a thing that happened, but that's a story for another time. We're not going to cover it now. So they're eventually going to pick up this storyline again. I think pretty sure they're going to pick up that storyline again. But in any case, after that, Rimuru returns back to the school and is a little is a little distracted about the fact that the competition was called off because nobody actually won because of the Specter incident. But he also laments that he didn't get a raise in the new desk that he wanted. But his daydreaming is interrupted by Jeff, who points out that they now need to prepare for the cultural festival as well, and is a little upset that Rimuru has so much free time on his hands. Which, to be fair, he will be because he's leaving soon. But in any case, that's just how it ends, with Rimuru showing off Rimuru's last day as a teacher. Basically, it shows him going through this competition as he prepares the students for his leaving, and basically that's the entire arc of this little 3-part OVA. So yeah, that's the end of this OVA. This is a little OVA mini-series that I did. That's all 5 of them, I think. And then the second season is going to pick up next week. So you guys kind of aren't going to have a break from this. Not that anybody's going to complain, because apparently me reviewing this series has gone very popular as of late, and I'm looking forward to digging into the second season and reviewing that as well. So yeah. Thank you. That's my review of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. We're going to be seeing Season 2 next week. But in any case, what did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!